you faithful few, and welcome back to DMH Adventures.
Where even if it has to be hasty, we still want our dinner to be tasty. Okay, so what we're talking about in today's video are these freeze-dried backpacker meals. There are just a wide variety of different brands out there, different recipes, and so we're going to be talking about them a little bit today. So a freeze-dried meal removes about 98% of the water from the food, whereas a dehydrated meal only removes about 80%. And one of the main things that does is it increases the shelf life of freeze-dried meals. The freeze-drying process also does a better job of retaining the taste, texture, and nutrition of the food. So the process of freeze-drying these meals is actually kind of what it sounds like. They just flash freeze the food, then expose it to a vacuum, and that evaporates most of the water. So what we are not talking about is taste. Taste is subjective. One man's pineapple pizza is another man's meat lover's pizza. One man's liver and onions is another man's steak and potatoes. He's over there, isn't he? So whether you are a weekend warrior or a through hiker or section hiker, there are really two main considerations to think about when looking at getting one of these meals. The first one, of course, is cost. How much are you going to be spending on these things? They can get a little pricey. The second main consideration is how much water it takes to rehydrate them. And the reason why that is a concern is because sometimes clean water can be hard to come by while out on trail. The other thing is water is heavy. It weighs 2.2 pounds per liter, half a pound a cup, 1 pound per 2 cups. And when you're doing hiking, carrying everything that you need on your back, every half pound counts. So we took a look at 5 different brands: Alpine Air, Backpacker's Pantry, ReadyWise, Mountain House, and Peak Refuel. And then for each one of those brands, I took 8 different recipes or samplings from those brands in order to get an average for the brand itself. That way we can compare the averages and see which one of these brands best meets your needs for meeting those 2 considerations. So first up is cost. If money is the most important thing to you and you just want to take a halfway decent meal out with you, then the cheapest out of all of these on average is the ReadyWise brand. They average about $7.53 per package. Then if you're just kind of like me and always want to buy the most expensive thing, because that's usually what you end up doing, the most expensive one out of these will be the Peak Refuel, coming in at about $13 per package. When looking at the amount of water that it takes to rehydrate the meals, and therefore the amount of weight that you're carrying in water, the Alpine Air, the Backpacker's Pantry, and the ReadyWise average 2 cups of water to rehydrate them. Then on average across the 8 different flavors or recipes that we looked at, the Mountain House comes in at only needing 12.53 ounces of water. So about 1.5 cups. Then the winner by far in terms of how much water is required to rehydrate them will be the Peak Refuel. On average, they only require 1 cup of water. In fact, one of the Peak Refuel meals, the chicken pesto pasta, only requires 5.3 ounces. Now in some cases you may need to add a little bit more water to rehydrate it to your taste, but in general that is a very small amount of water to rehydrate one of these packages. So in going with a Peak Refuel meal versus the ReadyWise, Backpacker's Pantry, or Alpine Air brands, you're going to be saving a half a pound in weight of water that you need to carry. One other thing you might want to consider, especially if you're a through hiker or a section hiker, is how many calories these offerings provide per gram of weight. And when I'm talking about weight in this context, I mean the weight of the pack itself as well as the water it takes to rehydrate it. Now, the clear winner there is the Peak Refuel meals. They give about 2 calories per gram of weight. And then all the other ones are pretty much 1 calorie per gram of weight. So that is twice as much energy for carrying the same amount of weight with the Peak Refuel meal. I'm not a section hiker or through hiker. I would think that would be beneficial. Just a weekend warrior, if that. I'm like an overnight warrior, if that's a thing. So I put together a big ol' Excel spreadsheet to lay out all this data and be able to compare it. I will put a link in the description below to that file so that if you want to really dig into the weeds on all these different brands and the different recipes that I considered, you can do that. Now, I know some of ye faithful few may be new to backpacking meals and these kind specifically, so I thought I'd take a quick moment and show you how one is prepared. So the first thing you need is boiling water. You get your canister stove or an alcohol stove or even a small wood burning stove. Get that ready to go. Then you're going to take a look at how much water your particular meal needs. This is the Peak Refuel Sweet Pork and Rice, and it requires 1 cup of water. Now we have another video talking about our particular cook kit here. You can check that out if you need some info on what kind of cook kit you need to be able to do this. It doesn't take much. So we're going to fill this up to 1 cup. Fire up the stove and get the water boiling. Then in the meantime, you can open the packet up. Then typically there'll be one of these packs in there that helps to keep the moisture from rehydrating the food before you want it to. Make sure and take that out. Then you just wait for your water to boil. All right, we've got the water to a boil. I forgot to grab something to keep from burning my hand. Take the boiling water and you just simply pour it in. Next up, take your spoon or whatever you have to stir it up. You want to get the water on every bit just so that everything is rehydrated. You don't get something crunchy while you're eating. Now that you're all stirred up, you go ahead and seal it. There's kind of like a Ziploc top here. Seal that up, and on the instructions it says to leave it sit for 10 minutes. All right, I've waited my 10 minutes. Time to open this up. Give it one more nice good stir. Always be super careful because it is very hot. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about taste, but this is delicious. A little bit of a spicy side to it, if you're a weenie like me. And this is my lunch for the day. Well, that is all I got for you today. Just a quick look at some stats on these freeze-dried meals. I want to thank you so much for watching, and you all have a great day.